In an era of international competition, with globalization, technicalization, and trade liberalization, the efficiency in trials for intellectual property and business disputes has become a major challenge as countries seek to promote national technological and economic development and improve their international competitiveness. Seeing the rapid development of a knowledge-based economy, intangible intellectual property have become an important resource for national technological and economic development and corporate management. Good corporate governance has also become the key to sustainable and sound development of businesses. The judiciary is unquestionably the most effective line of defense for protecting intellectual property rights and strengthening corporate governance. Taiwan follows the international community's growing emphasis on the protection of intellectual property rights and strives to enhance professionalism and efficiency in the processing of intellectual property cases. Taiwan formulated and promulgated the Intellectual Property Court Organization Act in 2007 and established the Intellectual Property Court on July 1, 2008. Taiwan thus became one of the few countries in the world where one intellectual property court is in charge of civil, criminal, and administrative litigation, opening a new era for intellectual property litigation. To optimize the business environment and strengthen corporate governance, Taiwan promulgated the Commercial Case Adjudication Act and amended the Intellectual Property and Commercial Court Organization Act in 2020. On July 1, 2021, the Commercial Court was merged with the Intellectual Property Court to form the Intellectual Property and Commercial Court. The Commercial Court was established to review major commercial cases. This is a new milestone for judicial protection in intellectual property and commercial cases in Taiwan. The President of the Intellectual Property and Commercial Court handles all affairs of the court. There are Trial Department and Administrative Department. The Trial Department encompasses the Intellectual Property Court and Commercial Court, which in turn include the Technical Examination Officer's Office, Commercial Investigation Officer's Office, and Judicial Associate Officer's Office. The Administrative Department encompasses the Clerk's Office, Personnel Office, Accounting Office, Statistics Office, Civil Service Ethics Joint Office, and Information Management Office. Intellectual Property and Commercial Court is a specialized court with jurisdiction over the following types of cases. 1. First and second instance civil cases for the protection of intellectual property rights and interests arising under the Patent Act, Trademark Act, Copyright Act, Trade Secrets Act, Optical Disc Act, regulations governing the protection of integrated circuits configuration, species of plants and seedling, and Fair Trade Act. 2. The IP criminal cases including A. The first instance of criminal cases about violation of the Trade Secrets Act. B. The first instance of criminal cases about damaging trade secrets of national core key technologies under the National Security Act. C. The second instance of criminal cases about counterfeiting or imitating a registered trademark or indication, or selling or importing merchandise with a false mark or indication under the Criminal Code. D. The second instance of criminal cases about the disclosure of commercial or industrial secrets, or violation of the Trademark Act, Copyright Act, Trade Secrets Act, and confidentiality preservation orders. However, juvenile criminal cases shall be processed by a juvenile court or juvenile division instead of the Intellectual Property and Commercial Court. 3. First instance administrative cases or compulsory execution arising from intellectual property rights in the Patent Act, Trademark Act, Copyright Act, Copyright Collective Management Organization Act, Optical Disc Act, regulations governing the protection of integrated circuits configuration, Species of Plants and Seedling Act, or Fair Trade Act. 4. Directors' disputes such as disputes involving civil liabilities to a company due to performance issue by its director or manager. Disputes involving civil liabilities based on the Company Act, Securities and Exchange Act, Futures Trading Act, and Banking Act in which the value or price of the matter of dispute exceeds 30 million new Taiwan dollars. Disputes involving shareholders of a public company that exercise shareholder rights with regard to the civil liabilities of a company or the director of the company. Suits for the dismissal of a board member or supervisor of the company filed by an institution that protects the rights of the securities investors and futures traders. Or disputes involving the validity of a resolution of the shareholders' meeting or the board of directors of a public company. Non-litigation cases involving the price of shares to be bought as determined by a public company, or disputes involving a public company's petition for the selection of an interim manager, assignment of an inspector, and/or their dismissal in accordance with regulations in the Company Act. Cases also include those placed under the jurisdiction of intellectual property and commercial court, according to laws or the Judicial Yuan Decree. Intellectual Property and Commercial Court has designated Technical Examination Officer and Commercial Investigation Officer for the Intellectual Property Court and the Commercial Court, respectively. They follow the instructions of the judge to determine technical or business issues in cases, as well as collect and analyze information and issue professional opinions for reference by the judge in proceedings. They are advisory positions in trial affairs and assists in litigation and non-litigation procedures in accordance with the law. Display screen equipment has been set up at all courtrooms to use modern technology to support trials and properly disclose related information on court activities. The involved parties, their agents ad litem, and defense counsels can transmit and receive legal documents and judgments electronically, access case files electronically, view the trial schedule and case progress, petition to obtain audio recordings of court proceedings, and download legal document templates. In the future, the Intellectual Property and Commercial Court will continue to serve the people, enhance professionalism, improve the quality of judgments, and meet international standards to perfect the resolution mechanisms for intellectual property and commercial disputes in Taiwan, and help industries achieve success in the global economy.